Hello, I'm Ben Bauer.
And I'm Tucker Jones. And using our combined years of skill and knowledge that we've both gained through search and rescue and from the FEMA program, CERT,
as well as in the Central Aid Agency's Rapid Response Team and my training as an EMT basic.
We're here to teach you folks a couple skills that just may save your life one day out here in the great outdoors. So everyone, time to dust off that table, grab your bag,
because this is Survival Guide.
Out here in the wilderness, or any great outdoors, you don't need everything you have at home. Most of those stuff is just for comfort. Out here, when you're in survival mode, there's only 5 basic things you really need to survive. That's food, water, shelter, safety, and the one that we'll be talking about today, fire.
Fire building is a very important skill to have. You need it for boiling water to purify it in order to drink it, cooking food, and for morale. Because it's so important, in search and rescue we advocate having at least 3 different ways to start a fire. So I'm going to show you the 3 ways I usually carry. These are hurricane matches. They're really good because they will strike even when wet. And then a cheapo little Bic lighter. These are also good because, you just press down on it, instant fire. The drawback to these are, in really cold environments, the liquid will freeze and you have to make sure that it's got fuel. The third way is the traditional magnesium and flint striker. And I'm going to show you in a little bit how to use these. Now, oftentimes getting a light or lighting something is not that difficult, but sometimes when it's really, really, really wet, you need an easy way to start a fire. For that, we use these, which are cotton balls dipped in Vaseline. They work really well because they light when wet and they burn for an extended period of time, so even if the other material is wet, these will help get them started. And I'm going to show you how to light these on fire using the magnesium and flint striker. Okay, so I've gotten a cotton ball and Vaseline out here, and what you want to do is you kind of want to pull it apart a little bit. The more surface area it has, the easier it will be to light and the longer it will burn. I've got a little chunk of wood here just to get my little fire off the ground, which will also make it easier to light. So I got that there. Now, take out my knife, and I just run it along here to generate some magnesium flakes. Now you want to do this quite a bit so you get a large pile going. That's what's going to light when you're ready to strike it. All right, that's probably pretty good. Now I'll flip it over to the striker here, and you just run the knife, and boom, instant fire. See how well the cotton ball is burning there? It'll smolder like that for several minutes. And if your other material is wet, that's long enough to get the really small material to dry out enough to catch. So I highly, highly advocate getting yourself some cotton balls, dipping them in Vaseline, and then putting them in like a little pill container and carrying them with you with several different ways to start a fire. So if you're trying to build a fire in a survival situation, the next thing you need to think about is where am I going to get the material to make this fire? Let's say it's been pouring down rain or snowing and everything's wet. Well, that's not necessarily a barrier to building a fire. In search and rescue, in order to pass, you actually have to build a fire and boil water when it's raining and has been raining for several months. So you want to look for areas where there's material that is not necessarily on the ground. Material that's on the ground is oftentimes very damp and wet. Things like this, which this is off one of the fir trees around here, it's sitting up off the ground, it's very small, and as a general rule, if you bend something and it snaps and cracks really easy, then it's drier than surrounding stuff. So this here we call featherwood. To start fire, you really want to have about a basketball size pile of this featherwood. It burns really, really fast, and this is what is going to get your fire going quickly once you get it lit. Now on the other end here, this is starting to get up into the pencil wood size. Pencil wood you also want to have a lot of, basketball size or more, collected before you start your fire, because as soon as the fire is going, you want to be able to put this stuff on the fire and not have to go collect more wood, because then your fire will burn out. So once you have the pencil wood, you move up into larger stuff like this here. Once again, things that have not been laying on the ground, that have been up, not directly soaking up water or underneath dense tree cover, is good to go because it will burn a lot better. And see, this one here breaks pretty easily, so this is really good firewood. Now this is going to be the meat and potatoes of your fire. This is what's going to keep it going for as long as you need it to go. If you're going to be out there for an operational period, which is generally between 8 and 12 hours, you need enough of this wood to fill the space of a VW Bug. So that's a lot of wood to collect. Keep that in mind if you want to have your fire go throughout the night. So I'm going to go ahead and collect some of this wood up, and we're going to show you how to start a fire. Before I do though, I want to mention this stuff right here. This is Old Man's Beard. It's a really, really good tinder for starting a fire when it's dry. But when it's wet, this stuff is really terrible. It'll just dampen your fire and will be a nightmare. But if it's dry enough out here like it is today, this is really good to help start your fire. Now as you can see, I've collected enough materials to start my fire and to keep it going long enough to hopefully boil a cup of water. So I've got a little piece of bark right here to use as a base to keep my fire out of the mud, and I've gotten some rotten soaked up logs to form a basis for a support when I'm ready to put the cup over the fire. You want the rotten water soaked logs to build this cup support structure out of, because they won't burn as easily. So I will go ahead and get my cotton ball out here and ready. That there. Now I'm going to start in with my really, really small wood, building it up around the cotton ball. And because it's been relatively dry, the Old Man's Beard will be beneficial to me today. Okay, because I have my materials right here, I can go ahead and light this safely. Just starting with the really, really small stuff here. As you can see, once it gets going, it doesn't take long for the fire to really pick up. Important thing to remember also is you want to allow space for lots of air to flow, because if you starve your fire out, you can kill it really fast. Sometimes all it needs is a little help to flame up again. All right, as you can see, I used the logs that I collected earlier, the really wet, damp ones, to create a barrier around the fire. And then I used these two to go across, and that's actually supporting my canteen cup with the water in it. And it's just about to a rolling boil now. Now when it's a rolling boil, you can tell because it's going to be really, really violent. It's just about there. All right, see that right there? See how it's really bubbling all over the top? That's a rolling boil, and that's what you want to be able to purify water. You hold it there for 10 to 30 seconds, minimum 10, 30 seconds, you're definitely safe, and you'll be able to drink that water without having any worries of contracting any waterborne illnesses. This water is also good. You could use it for cooking or making tea or any number of things. And this whole operation, you notice it got dark, but now I've got fire, I've got water, I'm set for the night. It's not that cold out here, so I could just spend the whole night out here next to this. I've collected enough wood, and there's more wood around that I can keep it going for several hours. And if I had to stay out here, I'd be set. So hopefully you learned a little bit about fire building, and if you ever find yourself in a survival situation out there, you'll be able to build your own. Now, of course, the final step here is once you have your water boiling, you need to get off there. It's going to be hot. So I always carry a little multi-tool with me, so then I can grab it and just remove it, and I'm good to go. Then if I need to, I can fill it up with more water, put it back on there, boil more, and I'm set.
Hey there folks, and thanks for watching.
Hopefully some of the skills you learned today you'll be able to use if you ever find yourself in a real-life survival situation.
We use these skills on a daily basis to help people like you in danger. So, the only way you can learn how to do it and maintain those skills properly is to get out in the outdoors and use them.
So go out and have some fun.
But remember, from all of us, there's only one thing we want, and that's for you to stay safe.